So today we're going to focus on one specific element of Shakespeare's life. That element is the role of the church. Now, it's hard to believe today, but the role of the church was really an important part of the community. In fact, there's a bit of history behind it. In the 1560s, before Shakespeare was really born, England, the country, was transitioning to a Protestant nation from being a Catholic country. And what that meant was there was state religions, which meant your government told you what religion you had to be. And if you didn't be that religion, you were considered a traitor, or what's called a heretic. All right? So that's the choice of the ruler. And so in the 1560s, there's a guy named King Henry VII. He changes the country from Catholic to Protestant, or Church of England, and that's what they are. And so they ignore the Pope, they do their own thing, and the king heads the church. Now, when King Henry dies, his eldest son took over, and his name was Edward. And he doesn't live very long, but they stay Protestant. But after he dies, things get a little weird. The eldest daughter, Catherine, well, she was born a Catholic. This was before Henry had changed England to a Protestant nation. But she's a Catholic. And she's married a Catholic guy, too. And so they start changing the nation back to Catholicism. And in the process, they start murdering people who don't want to do that, who speak out, the heretics who are Protestant. And they burn them at the stake. In fact, there's so many murders that she gets a really brutal nickname, Bloody Mary. Now, Bloody Mary doesn't last long. She actually dies after giving birth. And she's replaced by Queen Elizabeth I. Now, Queen Elizabeth is Protestant. And she agrees to bring back the Protestant ways. And that makes life much easier. But in England, there are some people who are still Catholic and they don't want to turn over. So her government officially has fines and even imprisonment as possible for punishment for those who don't practice appropriately. But she doesn't really push that a lot because she doesn't want to cause civil war. She doesn't want her people being upset. And why is this important to Shakespeare? Well, because there's rumors that his father was a secret Catholic. And that's a big deal because John Shakespeare held political office in Stratford, like a town select man. So if he was actually a Catholic and he got caught, he could lose his property. And that could cause some problems for Shakespeare. Now, this is a big deal because later on, when Shakespeare becomes famous, he's going to try to apply for something called a coat of arms, which we'll hear about later. And that's really a sign of status. And those rumors about John Shakespeare being Catholic, well, they come back. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at this website, Discovering Literature, Shakespeare, and Renaissance Writers, because we need to get a better understanding of, the cool stuff around his times, like how were criminals punished? What were some of the things that could happen to you? And so we're specifically going to focus on what these different categories are for major and minor crimes. So you will be using this link to examine what's it like for thieves and pickpockets. What was it like when minor punishments occurred? What were the more serious consequences? What were you burned for? What were you hung for? What is drawing and quartering? What is piano forte et dure? What does that mean? And wait, there are excuses? You could get out of punishment? And yes, even imprisonment. So with those in mind, you're going to use this website as your resource because we're going to talk briefly on the next class about what punishments were like.